till shade is gone,
till water is gone,
into the shadow with teeth bared,
screaming defiance with the last breath,
to spit in Sightblinder's eye on the last day.
by my honor and the light.
My life will be a dagger for Sightblinder's heart.
Until the last day. To Shia Ghul itself.
This is A Dagger for Sightblinder, a podcast focused on all things Wheel of Time, with your hosts,
Sarah Lucas
and Adam Tricola. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of A Dagger for Sightblinder. May you find shade this day. Sarah, do you need shade?
I always need shade. Do you need shade?
I have gotten enough for my whole life.
Oh. Okay. Fine, I guess.
You don't sound fine.
Did that sound shady?
It sounded sketchy. That's the difference.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Yeah, so we're talking about Miss Marvel season 1, episodes 3 and 4 today. And we're continuing on this trajectory of talking about shows instead of books. By the way, Sarah, have you been listening to Stormlight at all? You had started it.
Yeah, I listened to it today, actually.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
You liking it?
Yeah. I actually was like, I'm slowly been getting back into my rhythm, like post vacation, post COVID. So I was like, today was the first day that I actually drove my car somewhere.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I got to listen in the car and it was great.
That sounds great.
Mm-hmm. So,
cool. So
we're continuing though with TV shows, like you said.
We are. So yeah, Ms. Marvel. And we haven't even talked about this. What's next though? Like, so we've got another couple weeks. We'll probably just do individual episodes of Ms. Marvel 5 and then 6, or will we? I guess by next week 6 will be out, won't it?
I think 6 will be out next week. Yeah, I think it'll be out on the Wednesday.
Yeah. And then we got to figure out what we're gonna do after that.
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys are enjoying this, let us know, because there's nothing that's going to be new coming out, right?
I don't think so. I think we've got a little bit of a gap.
Maybe we could do like Doctor Strange or something.
Mm-hmm.
The Multiverse of Madness.
You need to watch that.
Did you so you've seen it?
Mm-hmm.
Did you need to watch the What If, or have you watched the What If finale yet?
I haven't.
Okay, so you just totally disregarded what I was telling you about that.
Yeah, I was gonna watch it after to see what it was about. I remembered it after I hit start on Doctor Strange, and I was like, I've opened this can of worms, so there's no going back now.
Do you think he appreciates you calling his show a can of worms?
Probably.
Seems likely.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, we're talking about Miss Marvel now, which I don't know how has it been received. I guess we should look that up, huh?
Yeah.
What kind of ratings has it been getting? Do you know?
I don't know actually what kind of ratings or reviews it's been getting.
Here, let me
I do know I know a few like of my friends that are really into Marvel and stuff are not watching it.
Yeah, so on Rotten Tomatoes, it's at 98%.
Wow.
For reviewers.
Okay.
And the average audience score is 81%. So
that's still
pretty high score.
Mm-hmm.
I always think it's funny. The reviewers are just so different from the crowds. Like it just makes it seem like I feel like the best reviewers would have the same like approval rates as the majority of people watching. Like it's just so it's so like when the Star Wars movies came out, for instance, they like the new ones, the sequel trilogies, they all got like in the 90 something, like real like 98% approval ratings from the reviewers.
Right.
And then the crowd still liked it, but it was significantly lower in every and some of them were significantly lower. So it's like, can you really trust a reviewer? They're like, I loved it. They all love it because it's something new to them. They watch every single movie and they're like, oh, thank God, like something new and different. So even if it's not good, they're just like, oh,
I
this is so different.
I never trust a reviewer when I'm like going to see a movie. I never look up what the reviews are ahead of time.
Yeah, and if that's the case, then what's the point?
Right. I just don't trust it. I used to do it and then I would disagree. So,
Well, yeah, even if it's like average audience score, I'm like, well, everyone else is wrong. That was dumb as hell.
or if like the reviewer was like, that was dumb as hell. I'm like, well, I really liked it. I don't want you to tell me I'm dumb. I'll do it myself later.
Yeah, you're like, you're dumb. I'm not dumb. You're dumb.
Yeah.
Who's dumb? So,
But
so
I'm happy to hear it's getting good reviews.
I guess, yeah. Um, would you give it a thumbs up so far?
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's like my favorite Marvel series out of all the ones that they've put out so far on Disney Plus, but it
Hmm.
is pleasantly better than what I expected it to be.
I expected it to be better than this.
Oh, really? So I just went in with low expectations.
Oh, I've loved, like, they've killed every show so far. Well, except for the Moon Knight show was super weird. It was
True.
too weird. That was weird. So I guess I should have lowered my expectation. This one, I thought I went in with no expectations, but in reality, it was just, I mean, so everything before Moon Knight, I've been super into. I was
Yeah.
there for it, like Loki and WandaVision and the Captain America, whatever, Winter Soldier. That one was great. Like they've been killing it. And even the What If was pretty interesting, though. I haven't finished watching all of those. So I've liked them all. And then this one, it was just like we talked about last time. It's a teenage girl,
It's hard for
and
you to relate.
well, it's a teenage girl who's from a totally different culture, even though she's still in the States. It's just totally like, it's very inaccessible on some levels. But I also like, I found myself, I mean, this week for episodes 3 and 4, I did find myself rooting for her more. But the other ones, I was like, should I care what happens to her?
Right. Because it's so
Like,
there's no like, I don't know. It sounds weird to use the word rapport, but there's no rapport built between you and the character.
well, yeah, like they didn't give me a reason to care. I'm like, oh, she's like gonna with this love triangle. Okay, like,
Awesome.
and now there's like a love square. So
Yeah,
because she's
it's
yeah,
real.
with the red daggers and the yellow daggers and whatever colors of daggers there are.
It's real interesting. Okay, well then let's talk about episode 3 a little bit because I'm curious what your thoughts were here.
Okay, so we promised a new format, guys, and we're gonna try our best to to institute it, so that we don't just belabor all of these different topics. So, I guess we should probably start with like just a really brief recap of what happened in the episode.
Yeah, so basically we get a little bit of a flashback scene at the start because she's with Cameron's family. She's with his mom. And we learn that they are from another dimension and they
Whatever
knew
that means.
yeah, whatever that means. I mean, it's Marvel. They knew her great grandmother, and they need her help, and it's this whole thing. And you learn that she's part of the same because they're from another dimension, but so was her great grandmother. So she's part of like the same Jinn roots or group of people. And then honestly, like I feel like a lot of this episode was spent focusing on her brother's wedding. So there was a lot of that, which was fine. And then, she doesn't really know if she can help or want to help this group, if it's safe for her to do it, and they do not like that answer. I feel like it went from 0 to 100 real quick. Like they just are real aggressive and trying to destroy everything to make her, I think the exact words were like, force her to help them or something like that.
Well, it's an interesting thing because you'd think that they would just like she hasn't shown any signs of like wanting to like turn them in or betray them or anything like that.
Right.
So what's interesting to me about that is the fact that they've been there for how many years, and they're like, we can't wait even one day, we have to go right now.
Well, and like I just found it interesting too because, like you said, she hasn't said like that she wants to turn them in or anything. Like she literally just said she needed a bit more time. Also, it's her brother's wedding. Like maybe just let her chill for a few days here.
Like, what's their sense of urgency? Like, why do they need to go right now?
But like, when I was watching this episode, I was thinking about this, and I was like, if I were her and I was in this position, and
who's her?
If I were Kamala, sorry, and I was in this position where you were like, oh, you have to help me, like, well, I need your help, and then I was like, let me think about it. I got my brother's wedding, it's not super safe, blah, 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 like this whole thing. Mm-hmm. How does killing me, or like trying to kill me, help you?
Well,
like I feel like that negates the purpose.
Can they access the Noor or whatever it is with the bracelet? Like, can they use that power?
I don't know. I guess that's the only real way. Because I was just like, this seems counterproductive. Like, you kind of need her. And if you don't, but also, like, if you don't need her and you just need the bracelet, why don't you just steal the bracelet?
Or why didn't they just kill her initially?
Right. Like, why? I don't know. A lot of it just seems so... It was a really drastic switch. Like, I remember when you first realize it's happening, you're like, oh, this is not going where I thought it was going.
I when we first met them, like in that first house, I was like, okay, cool. Like you get them with the team,
Right.
But then, so she started doing these what if, or sorry, not it. She was just started doing us versus them. Like to Kamala, and she's like, oh well, they don't understand you, we understand you. Like she's trying to get, she's playing some kind of a game with Kamala, trying to get her to feel like she's isolated and she has to be with them, or she just will never be understood.
Right. Which I guess is smart on her behalf, because Kamala definitely is super in a huge like confused state right now.
Yeah, she is. She's confused. But I mean, I just want to know why this sense of urgency. Why do you need to hurry up? Like, because Kamala seems like she wants to help, at least some.
Mm-hmm. So, what would you say in this episode was your like least favorite part of it? I feel like we should do the least favorite first.
Okay, well, let's just follow your feelings here.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so throughout the whole time, so this is also an episode where we get to see like the better side of her parents.
Yeah.
Like that her parents have been all just like kind of weird and off and like disapproving or whatever. Like there's been a lot of just kind of weirdness between them. At this time though, like they're offering good advice to their son. They're being supportive of Kamala. They're like you can see they actually have a relationship with Kamala. It's not just like this weird estranged mess that they're kind of representing in the first couple episodes. And they're just like, please tell us what's going on, what's the matter. And Kamala's like, nope, screw you, not gonna do it, like F off. Like, just go ahead and F yourselves right now, please. Because I want nothing to do with telling you anything. But I'm fine, it's cool. There are people trying to kill her, and she's just like, we're good, I'm good, not gonna tell anyone. Like, I got my bracelet that I don't know how to use really, so that'll be good.
Yeah, she's just basically relying on, I guess, like the clandestines, like this group of people she just met, but also Bruno to help her get through everything and learn everything.
Yeah, which, I mean, yeah, like, she is so lucky to have a friend as good as Bruno, because the way, as off-putting as, like, she's just like treats her parents like crap and like doesn't care, like whatever. And that's probably typical teenage, like I'm seeing this as like a 36-year-old that I am. I'm like, my parents were actually pretty well, like they had it put together pretty well, you know, in reality. Like looking back, like, wow, look how smart my parents were, you know. But back when I was a teenager, I probably wouldn't have quite had, I always did respect my parents actually, but not to the extent I do now. I mean, if there was someone trying to kill me and I had special secret powers, like, I would have told my parents. Like, they would have known,
right?
At least, you know, I'd have like maybe made them like promise not to tell anyone or something. But so the fact that she's just like, nope, like, I'm a teenage girl, doesn't really know my powers. Not to mention she's putting her parents in danger by just living with them. Like, you'd think that they deserve to know. So to me, that's the part that just grated the most. I would like her to be a little more forthcoming with her parents.
Okay, that's fair. Do you think that's because you're a parent?
Well, I'm sure that, I mean, I don't think I could ever take the daddy lens off at this point. So well, and honestly, like, so that's a conversation that me and my wife talk about a lot, is like, how can we actually, and I don't want to turn this into a whole parenting thing, but like this is relevant, I think. How can we at this age that our kids are at 4 and 8, like, how can we earn their trust now so that we can have conversations that are maybe difficult, but like actual conversations about challenging topics later, that they'll actually be willing to share with us, like that they won't just be estranged and be like, no, like, my parents don't care about me or whatever, like, where they're like, you know who I have this really tricky situation, you know, whatever social situation, don't need to get into too many details, but like, I don't know what to do. And instead of relying on my friends who also know exactly zero about this topic, maybe we should talk to my parents who actually know stuff.
Yeah.
Like, so I mean, that's an important thing.
It's the same theme here.
Yeah. Like, I'm sure that some of my lens is just like, yeah, like, I'm a good dad. Why wouldn't you share with me or your dad? Right? Just go tell him, Kamala. What are you doing?
Right. That's fair.
That's a good insight. Yeah, I'm sure it's because I'm. What are your thoughts on it though? Did that grate on you?
It did, but I think I just took it. I think I looked at it of the lens of like, well, of course she's not going to tell them, she's a teenager. Like, that was my viewpoint. I was like, no, of course she's not going to. You don't tell your parents anything at this age.
Oh, I told my parents a lot.
You and I have. I mean, I feel like as you get older you do, but I don't know. At that age, I was moody and not telling my parents anything.
I could see that.
Yeah.
I can see that now.
So, I mean, fair.
Of me. But.
So, like, yeah, I wanted her to tell them. I did really see the side of her parents that you mentioned, where you see this like really loving, caring side of them come out, and like this other side that we haven't gotten to see of them, and they do just want to help her, and yeah, so you kind of want her to, but I wasn't surprised that she chose not to, so it didn't necessarily grate me. Um, and it's also like I think it's also just a little bit of a plot device, right? To put her into more dire situations. Um,
Well, yeah, I mean, how many interesting movies would happen if people just went to the cops and
right,
let them solve it, you
right,
know?
exactly. Um,
Like they followed the rules, like the unhinged, barely responsible police guy just
mhm,
didn't decide to go rogue and solve the mystery himself.
mhm.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, you're
yeah.
right.
So it didn't necessarily grate me. I did not love the whole interaction between Kamran and his mom when she realized, like, she's gone through his phone and realizes that
Hmm.
Kamala's not gonna help them. Like, she's gonna, it's not necessarily safe, and she's gonna take some time to think about it and whatever. And like that was when you
Hmm.
realize that she is like the quote unquote bad guy. Um, and
Yeah, I was.
like she had this line to him where she was like, "I'm not asking anymore. I'm gonna make her help us." Like I was like,
Hmm.
"Oh, we're in that kind of a situation all of a sudden," and it was just such a 180 flip, because she did seem not that way at the start of the episode, that it felt, it just jarred me. And then it was also a little bit of a heartbreaking episode because you realize that he's been lied to as well, right? Like you realize that he didn't know that she was going to be, in danger, and she did. His mom did, and was willing to do that, willing to potentially sacrifice her so that they could get their way.
Yeah, so this actually, I mean, and I thought that I just noticed that it was like she's playing some kind of confidence game and trying to get Kamala to, just only trust her.
Mm-hmm.
I did notice that earlier. But then, like beyond that, though, I wondered, I had to wonder if, like, so this woman is very old.
Right.
Like she looks the same age as, like, we got a flashback at the start, and so we know how old she looked when this happened in the 40s or
Mm-hmm.
whatever, or was it the
It
40s?
was
And
the
I mean,
40s, yeah,
yeah.
1942.
Okay, so there, we see her in the 40s, and she looks the same as
Mm-hmm.
now. She hasn't aged a day. It seems like,
Mm-hmm.
and we see the other people, and they haven't aged. So the Jins don't age. So they're very clearly very old, though. If they were
Right.
adults in the 40s. I just wonder, how is Kamran, like, what's the story? So he's 17 years old. So at some point, she decided she wanted a kid,
Right.
but she's, like, super old, and she doesn't see many people as equals. Like, how, what decision making, like, what's the story behind Kamran being in existence in the first place? Because the other ones don't seem to have kids, just
Right.
her.
Yeah. Is there a purpose for it? Like, is there an ulterior? I'm almost wondering now if there's an ulterior motive.
Yeah.
Don't like
Yeah,
that.
I don't know. Well, so I mean, clearly they intended for him to be part of them, because they, like, he knows how to fight. Like,
Mm-hmm.
he goes toe to toe with them, and even though he's less experienced, maybe, and less skilled, like, he can hold his own, kind of.
Right.
Like, it's not just like the flailing that I would probably end up doing.
Right. Exactly. Or running
Right? Yeah. So
and like not only was he like fighting them, but he's clearly been trained to use weapons as well. So
yeah, and so it makes me wonder too. So he's there. Like, how is he surprised that his mom is a manipulative bee?
Right. Based off of his potential upbringing.
Yeah. Yeah, like he spent time training with these guys and knowing, like, he has to know that there's an extremely unpleasant side to them. Like, unless it just seems like he couldn't have helped but notice that. I mean, that this is probably too deep for the plot that they're trying to sell us. So,
Right.
but these are these things that I think of. So, um, okay. So, what was your favorite part?
Ooh. I actually, I don't know why, I really enjoyed the scene where the damage control squad shows up at the mosque looking for her, because they're obviously looking for Kamala. They don't know it's Kamala, but they're looking for this.
Mm-hmm.
What's the exact phrase they've used? You know,
Some kind of super
some kind of super whatever. They're looking for this.
super whatever, that was
Yeah.
descriptive.
Thank you. They're looking for her. And
Yeah, she's like a rogue. She's a rogue robot. That's what I always think of that in from Wally.
yeah. But
Rogue
she like,
robot.
well, and so they're looking for her. Exactly that. They're looking for the rogue robot, 'cause I can't remember the term that they actually used. And I just really enjoyed the interaction between them, the agent in particular, and the mosque leader and her friend Nakia. And they're like, no, like, you can't come in here without a warrant. Like, and I just loved the biting back at them. I thought it was really fun, and just like their little bit of like, you know, pushing the buttons of her, so to speak. But then it also gave me the vibe, and I really liked this too, because it makes me question a lot of things in the storyline, just in terms of what I should be looking for. It almost gave me the vibe that I was like, is this damage control squad bad or good? Because in these scenes, they come across as bad. So, like, as the quote unquote bad guys. And it makes me wonder if that's just like a caveat of being on the damage control squad, or if there's something else there.
Yeah, well, so the damage control squad. Yeah, so I feel like they set him up a little bit in the Spider-Man
Yeah, they did.
show, and like they were just total jerks. Like they were really aggressive about everything, and yeah, you wonder, like, what's their actual objective? Like, damage control.
Yeah.
Like, do they just actively hunt? Like, that? Why are they hunting her as opposed to, like, why aren't they looking for Spider-Man? Why aren't they looking for the Hulk, or, you know, like all these other ones that would probably just kick their asses really hard?
And like, why her in particular? I don't know. It just seems there's just so many questions there, and I just really enjoyed seeing them go kind of toe to toe. They were just being a little bit mouthy with each other, and I liked it.
Okay.
So, what did you enjoy?
Yeah. So, in episode 3, let's see. I have it in my notes here. Hold on.
You do.
Oh yeah. So I did like when we met the Jins and we see that, like, you know, hey, we're meeting the team. We get to see who the people, like, oh, this is who Kamala's gonna hang out with. Like, this is gonna be the elite team. And then like, just pretty quickly, I was like, oh, they're not good. They're sinister. They're bad people. It seems like they're just gonna try to, you know, play Kamala because she's a teenager. So there was that, and I already talked about that. I think the other part, so it's such a weird juxtaposition, because I have always had like a really fundamental fear of, like, I can't dance. Like, it just terrifies me. Like, I just it's like a phobia or something. And maybe I should address that, but I'm not going to. And so
Spoken
Anyways,
so stubbornly.
I just don't want to. I
It's
don't see
fine.
the need. You know what? I can salsa dance actually,
It's
but
fine. It's all good.
yeah. Anyways, we can move on from this topic.
Yeah.
Um, well, all I'm saying is I did address it some by
Mhm.
trying to learn, and I learned, and I still don't like it at all.
Okay.
Okay. So let's just like move it right along and say, uh, I really enjoy dance scenes though. Like I love watching people dance,
Mhm.
and it was like the wedding.
Mhm.
I, I mean, okay, I hope this isn't like prejudice or whatever. I just, when you don't understand everything about a culture, like you just kind of certain assumptions. Like they went through the wedding, they were sitting down. I was like, what's going on? Oh, okay, like that's not bad. It's just like,
You just didn't know what to expect.
yeah, it's not my traditional, like I've had very little exposure to that culture, and so like they're sitting down and getting married. That's fine. That they
Mhm.
should do that. They should absolutely. But then I thought that we'd see like a bunch of other kind of weird customs and stuff. Like,
Mhm.
hey, they hit crazy. They hit his shoes. Like what,
Okay.
like they're doing all this stuff. But then they had the cool dancing scene, and it was so fun. I really enjoyed it, and instead of it being like this, oh, I don't get it, kind of just like montage of me not getting it,
Mhm.
I was like, this is fun. Like they're all having fun. This is cool. So
And
I really like that scene a lot.
it's kind of too like when you take the whole episode into like factor in the whole episode, it's a very interesting juxtaposition that you have this really fun upbeat scene. It's kind of a little bit of a like easing the tension of sorts that you don't even realize is going to happen afterwards.
Right.
Because you go from
Well,
this into like the clandestines arriving to kill everyone according to Kamran.
oh yeah, he's like, well, yeah. So from his message, he's like, no, you don't know my mom. She's gonna kill everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
he knew that they were unpleasant.
Right.
I was actually surprised. I thought that maybe he was gonna be part of, like, I thought that he was gonna betray her.
Oh, okay,
Like
yeah, and be
I
part of
thought
the.
I thought that his mom was gonna be like, hey, you go and lie to her, go distract her,
Mm-hmm.
and we're just gonna come kill her while she's, kill everyone while she's distracted.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that was what was gonna happen actually, and so he surprised me,
Mm-hmm.
and I did have to laugh that he kept calling
Bruno.
Bruno Brian.
I
He's
was.
like, I just kept calling it. He's like, no, it's not my name, and he's like, Brian, go home. But like, I also like that those two kind of acknowledged each other and were like kind of more okay with each other toward the end.
Do you think Cameron just like has the "We Don't Talk About Bruno" song in his head all the time, so he just keeps calling him Brian instead?
Yeah, we don't talk about Brian. Yeah, I guess it
um,
could be.
Maybe. I really liked as well, like just as I thought this actually said a lot as like an honorable mention of something I liked in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
When they're here and you have this fight scene and they're all trying to kill her, and they're also and then Bruno ends up helping and he like throws a gift at one of them or something and distracts them.
I loved that part actually. That was so good.
I loved that he was there, but then I also loved what ended up happening after the fact when they attacked him, and
Mm-hmm.
then you see the light bulb click, like you see it go off in Kamala's head in that scene, and you see her realize just how strong and how powerful her powers are, and she just completely does like a whole different type of punch here and like
Yeah,
swings
she
her
gets
arm
she gets
around.
aggressive. Well, yeah,
Yeah.
she goes from like survival mode because it's her. No, I,
Mm-hmm.
I love that. That's a great point. Like she goes from like, don't kill me, like I'll protect myself kind of, but like it's like a losing fight. Like eventually they're gonna get through to
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like someone matters to me. Like, okay, it's on. Like you're like I'm
Yeah.
I'm gonna just beat the hell out of you because it's
That's
yeah.
exactly what it was. It was
You
way more aggressive.
yeah, you mess with me, that's one thing. Like I don't like that,
Mm-hmm.
and we'll have issues. But mess with my kids, mess with my family, mess with some like my close friends.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't care what needs, like, whatever needs to happen is going to happen to you. Like, it's over for you,
Right.
you know, like curtains.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go to jail afterward, maybe not, but you know.
But like, you could see it happen for her in that moment.
You're right. It did click. Like, she did get aggressive there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I love that he was just like, these people have these brutal, crazy weapons,
Mm-hmm.
and they're smashing tables and doing all this crazy stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And he is like wearing a suit and has no training at all.
Mm-hmm.
And he sees his friend in danger, and he's thinking like, okay, I'm gonna do this, and then one of them's gonna come over and kill me. Like, that's what's gonna happen.
Right. It's gonna be enough time for her to get like an advantage or something.
Yeah, I'm gonna save her because she needs help. She clearly needs help,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever happens to me happens to me. But you know,
Oh man, yeah,
I loved that.
very like super powerful scene.
Yeah, it's heroic.
Mm-hmm.
Man. I thought it was really cool. And it was very interesting to see at the end when her friend is like, you didn't tell me, and it's like, she actually did try to tell her friend,
Right.
and she felt like she couldn't. And I didn't blame Kamala for that. Like, I blamed her for not telling her parents,
Mm-hmm.
but I couldn't blame her for not telling her friend.
I didn't blame her either.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So up to this point, this was by far my favorite episode.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Good. Yeah. It was, the other two were okay. Like, I would have given them like a 2.5 stars, like maybe like a 2 and then a 2.5.
Yeah, the other two.
This one,
sorry, go ahead.
this one would be like 3.5 probably.
Yeah. The other two felt more, they had like really heavy introductory vibes.
Sure. Well, yeah, I mean, they can't all be the WandaVision
Right.
show. Like, I loved like
I love
WandaVision. Not that we should talk about that, but like the start of it was the most charming, and it actually, I felt like this show got worse toward the end.
Oh.
I felt like it was like the opposite here, because this show, Miss Marvel, is building momentum. WandaVision was like, oh, there's, I don't know, I don't want to spoil anything for that, but it was, I was like, oh, that's what's going on.
You're like, this is what's happening. Got it.
Your kids, what? The ending was a little disappointing, is all. But and maybe that'll happen here. But all I guess I'm saying is this was started very, very, very slow to me, for all the reasons we listed last time. Just the cultural thing, the age difference, the gender difference between her and me. Like, it just totally hard to approach. But now we start seeing some actual heroic things that I'm like, oh, like, look what Bruno did. That was awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And Kamran also, like, defies his family, who's like very clearly very close. Which I'm like, well, that's probably a pretty typical teenage thing. He's like, I have a crush on a girl. I guess I'll betray my family.
Yep, just like that.
He's like, maybe she'll make out with me afterward if I do that.
Oh man. Okay, so do you want to go into episode 4? Do you have any more thoughts about episode 3?
No, 4 is more interesting by far to me, anyways. Actually. Okay, so
yes.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, I was just gonna say, do you want to recap it?
Yeah, can I try to recap it? Since we're both just kind of going off the top of our heads here. So at the end of episode 3, Kamala's grandma was like, oh, come visit me for some reason. And she was like, yeah, okay, well, she did, like, she just said, come visit me. So the start of the episode is her and her mom on, they're not sitting next to each other. They're on a plane, though. They're talking over some poor guy.
I know. I felt for this guy.
I know. Well, he was also asking, like, he was asking her questions too. Like, so they're flying to Pakistan, which is exciting. I can't remember the last time I've seen a movie that was I can't even think of a movie that happened in Pakistan.
No,
In
me
fact,
neither. So this was really interesting.
yeah, like Karachi. Like I mean, I'm typical American. I just don't know geography that well outside of the United States or even within the United States. So, like I, but I do know that in the game Pandemic,
Mm-hmm.
you like Karachi is one of the key places in Asia
Mm-hmm.
or whatever. It's like a city, and I never even I knew I would have guessed that it was Pakistan, but it doesn't say that in the game.
Mm-hmm.
And like that's the depth of my ignorance, though. That's maybe the only town that I could even name in Pakistan.
Right.
But like so, it was like, oh, this could be cool. And anyway, so gosh, I'm like interjecting my own personal feelings here. I'm doing bad at the recap. Let me get more clinical here. So they get to the house. She immediately jumps into dialogue with her grandma about the bracelet. Just like not really much. Not much of a hecitation there.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom doesn't realize that it's about the bracelet. She thinks that they're just there to socialize. They see their cousins, the cousins that so they all go to a restaurant. They can't actually go in though because apparently Kamala can't wear jeans there. But no one noticed she was wearing jeans.
Right.
They all just judged her afterward, and
Right.
then she goes with her cousins. They disinterestedly point at some things. They're like, oh, there's some old people who live up there, and then she wants to go to the train station. They don't want to go, so they just ditch her. And she's like, okay, I'm not even gonna get directions from my cousins. Like, they're just gonna leave. I'm gonna get directions from some unreliable,
Yeah.
like, tourist trapped guy.
Mm-hmm.
So she goes to the train station, and there's no one there apparently, except a bandit looking man with a red mask comes in, and he starts throwing knives at her, and they fight, and it's kind of a funny fight but fun. And eventually he realized, like, he's like, oh, you're not actually part of the clandestines. That's cool. She's like, yeah, I immediately trust you. Let's go. Like, so he leads her to their secret hideout. He immediately trusts her. And she learns that there's a dimension, and the clandestines are being like kind of just jerks. They don't care about anyone else but themselves and getting back to their place. And so apparently for every evil organization, there has to be a good organization to oppose them. That's like the Marvel like mantra. I feel like that's
Yeah.
And so that's like the hideout is super high tech and fancy.
Mm-hmm.
And then she has interactions with them, and the guy with the face mask thing turns out to be like her age, and probably she thinks he's attractive, and she's trying some foods. And there's a guy playing a guitar around the campfire. And then we get to the scene with the clandestines. They break out of a supermax prison.
Yep.
Real easy. Real easy. And I'm like, that's not what a prison's like, bro. But because well, we don't need to get into that. But they escape immediately, and they find the hidden fortress, the easiest ever. And there's a big long chase scene, and the cool mentor guy just finally gets stabbed, but he kills one of the clandestines. With lots of throwing knives and stabbing knives. It's all about knives.
Yeah.
They're all conniving. And
I mean, they are called the Red Daggers.
You're right about that. But it's not just their daggers that are getting red.
That's true. This is true.
And so eventually what? Oh yeah, Kamala is like cornered, and they stab her bracelet, and she is suddenly in the old train station way back in the day. Like, she's time traveled apparently.
Yeah. I was wondering that. I was like, did she just go to a different dimension, or did she time travel to the past? But it looks like it's the past. It's the train going to Karachi.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and I
Well,
mean,
that was.
actually,
Mhm.
I think a little bit important. She sees this train at the end of episode 3, and that's why her grandma is like, "Oh, you saw the train, like you have to come visit." And then she goes to the train station because she saw the train, and then you have this
Mhm.
whole everything's about the train apparently.
It's a whole thing.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's the episode in a nutshell.
Yeah. What'd you think of it? What was your least favorite part of it?
Um,
Because you feel like we need to talk about our least favorite
I do. So
first.
there were two things. One's not really like a least favorite. It was just more me nitpicking, and I just have a really bad habit of noticing these things when I watch like shows and movies.
Hmm.
They landed in Karachi in the middle of the night. Like they're at the airport and the grandmother's there, the cousins are there. They're like, "Oh, it's the middle of the night." Like she's like, "Why are you awake? Like it's the middle of the night. You should be at home sleeping." And then they all
Yeah.
get in this car to drive to the house, and they get to the house and it's daylight, like midday, early like late morning at the absolute earliest. And I'm like, but you landed in the middle of the night. Like, how long were you in the car for? So, I don't know. It just didn't. It was one of those things that I noticed that it broke the story for me. Like it took me out of it because I noticed the difference, the continuity there wasn't quite where it should have been, in my opinion. But yeah, just a nitpick. That was not my least favorite part. Um, I overall I didn't really enjoy the market scene. I thought it was really cool to see, but I didn't. It felt like a lot of filler, and I was like, I don't need filler right now. I need more information. And her cousins seemed really odd. Like they were just like, oh yeah, we're gonna leave you here in this market and city that you've never been in before. We'll just leave you by yourself though while we go get coffee with friends somewhere else. And it was just a very odd scene. And then she gets the directions to this train station from a stranger from this guy there, which was humorous, but it was all also just very weird. I don't know. The whole scene was kind of just odd, but it led to something more important, which is fine. It just felt a little bit more fillery to me.
Why does she wear a New Jersey shirt in Pakistan when she doesn't wear that kind of thing
At,
otherwise?
at
Like she
home.
does, like she does. It doesn't fit with her wardrobe at home. I feel like.
That's true. It doesn't. So far, at least.
Oh, I mean, not that we've just like it just makes no sense. She's like, hey, I want everyone to know I'm a tourist.
I mean, I think she just gives off the tourist vibe in general.
Well, yeah, but why wear that shirt unless you want that exact thing?
That's fair. It's a good point.
Maybe it's like in the comic books, and that's like a nod to. I guess that's one thing too. Is like, whereas we want these stories to feel real, like the important elements we want them to feel. Like Bruno throwing the presents, and like that's real. Like that'll pull on the emotions because it's heroic and awesome, and we want to see that. Like the all the external stuff, like wearing a t-shirt who actually at the end of the day, like some of it we just need to remember some of it's going to be because of the comic book stuff that they just want to nod. Like
That's
I'm sure
true.
that people really like the comic books, and if that was part of it, like I'm sure that there are a few nods that we never noticed, but people are like, oh, that was there, that was in it. Like that they have to do their fan service too. So that could just be, it could be as simple as that. Yeah, I didn't like the cousins
Yeah,
though.
I just didn't like them.
Yeah, like they're like, oh yeah, like smiling at her, and they just seem so fake, really. And they're like, oh, I really wanted to go in, and there's a buffet in there, and we can't because Kamala wore jeans. And I'm like, you're telling me that it took restaurant staff to notice that she was wearing jeans?
Apparently.
Like like you guys drove there with her. She
Mm-hmm.
walked into the car while you were like in your presence.
Mm-hmm.
Like you all had, and she's a stranger to that place. Of course she's gonna do something, some faux pas. Like it's on them, not on her. And they're all whiny about it. Like, okay.
It also just felt like a little bit. I felt bad for her in a sense because it just felt like they were trying to nitpick. Like even her mom, and they were like, "Oh yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
hope you don't mind we're outside." Kamala wore jeans. And it's like, can we not?
Right.
So, um,
Yeah.
what was your least favorite part?
I just thought that the prison was real dumb.
Yeah, them breaking out of it and everything so easily.
Oh, like how they don't have super strength. They just like did things that I don't know, like I could have done that too. Probably like maybe I'm not in as good a shape as them or whatever, but I my guess is that I'm about as strong as Kamran, who's like 17. I'm sure I'm stronger than he is.
Hmm.
I could have broken out just as easily.
Hmm.
I like this is a super max prison, and you're letting them all like hang out together, and you're tying their hands to some weird little pulley thing. Like it just made no sense, and I don't know. It just kind of annoyed me. Like, okay, you have the supermax prison for people who have superpowers,
Right.
and like that's the best you can do. Like a couple of guys with like stun guns,
It's a little jarring. It kind of like takes you out of like the whole story.
right? I was like, if you're gonna make a prison that has any hope of keeping these extraordinary people imprisoned,
Mhm.
like maybe actually show some like anything that would give you any hope of doing that. Like otherwise it like it may as well just be an open air garden that you just like set them in, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's just no reason to have like uh, anyways, it just seemed pretty dumb. And then they immediately knew where Kamala was
Yeah. Yeah.
instantly. Like I, I don't know how. Maybe the Noor was like they could sense it or something, but
Maybe.
they instantly knew where she was.
Yeah. And then they leave Cameron behind too.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that was something too.
Yeah. They're like, "Nah, you made your choice."
Yeah, and
It's
the
like,
lady just like looks at her had him for a minute, and then pieces out.
yeah. It's like that's harsh.
Hmm.
So, I'm curious what we're going to see of him in the upcoming episodes.
Yeah, he'll be important on some level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
What did you enjoy in this episode? What was your favorite thing?
Okay. So my favorite part. Um. Oh, so I really liked the train station part.
Mm-hmm.
I thought,
Like the
or the train
middle.
station fight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, where she meets the Red Dagger guy,
Mm-hmm.
and like they have the fun banter and everything.
Yeah.
I'm all about that banter, and so I thought it was fun, and it was fun to see like the evolution of her powers. Like she's starting to really get comfortable using them.
Mm-hmm.
Like she's climbing stairs of with her power, and it was fun to see him adapting and like using the things that she built
Mm-hmm.
against her was fun. Like he was able to adapt her powers to use for himself,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was cool. And then I did think it was funny. I was like, well, I might be the same, but like he's like, oh, you're not a clandestine, and they realized they're like, oh, we're actually maybe friends,
Right. Which is
you know.
interesting.
Which I mean, in movie logic, that's this it's just fine.
I mean, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Right. I mean, but what if he had been a clandestine and then he just lied to her and he's like,
Yeah.
haha, you're in my fortress now. Like, screw you. Give me the bracelet or you're dead.
Right. Oh, that's dark.
I know, but you knew because he was charming and funny and like
Mm-hmm.
because of their interactions that like they've trained us to recognize that.
Mm-hmm. That's very true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that I like that part. And I liked all of the fight scenes actually. The chase scene stuff is not so much, but I thought that the fight scenes were pretty well choreographed, and I
Mm-hmm.
for the short parts that we got to see him before he got red daggered himself, I
Yeah.
like the red dagger leader. Like he was quirky and fun.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What about you? What's your favorite part?
So I also really enjoyed the train station fight, and I liked the red daggers just because I liked getting like this was more information that we were being given, and I wanted that, and it was information from a different source, which I thought was also pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that, but I laughed probably harder than I should have at the in the train station when they were fighting, and he comments on knowing she's American because of her shirt, which I know you're all about wearing the New Jersey shirt, but she's just like, well, how do you know I'm not Canadian? And it just made me
Yeah.
laugh so hard because she's Canadian, like the actress is Canadian.
Yeah.
So it's
You wonder if that was just like improvised on her end,
yeah, and I'm like,
the
what
actress's end.
was
Yeah.
that put in there on purpose, kind of thing, like as a nod? I don't know. It just made me giggle, and I really enjoyed like having a little bit of a outs. You, it almost felt like they were breaking the fourth wall a little bit with that line.
I thought it was fun.
Yeah,
I mean, I was like, because you're not very polite. You don't say sorry ever.
you don't say sorry ever. You don't apologize for someone walking into you.
Right.
Yeah. So no, I really enjoyed that, and then yeah, now I'm just wondering what happens next.
Yeah, I hope it's not something too weird.
I so so she's there. So she obviously like went into like this the past, and she's at this train station again. And
Mm-hmm.
I like it's just her, even though because when she did when they hit her bangle and did that, the Red Dagger kid was fairly close to her. So originally I thought he went too, but it
Mm-hmm.
looks like it's just her.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if she's gonna have to figure out by herself how to get. Ooh, I wonder if she's gonna find her great grandmother.
Yeah, I think she'll at least talk to her and see
Mm-hmm.
what you know. I'm wondering if she's like in the bracelet right now
Mm.
or something. She's wearing like she's just in it, and when she figures out how to get out, like she'll be back in the fight scene in the middle of it.
Ooh, that would be kind of cool. Yeah, because I'm like, is she gonna? Basically, I'm wondering, is she gonna have to figure out how to get out of wherever she is by herself, or is someone gonna figure out where she is and go to her?
Mm.
So, but I like that theory, which is why I'm now wondering if she's just gonna go find her great grandmother and have her help her,
Yeah, may as well, huh?
right?
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So, I guess we'll find out.
It was also interesting. They killed a couple of the clandestines. It seems like.
They did.
I'm wondering if that's going to be permanent or not.
Oh, or if they'll just kind of like respawn, sort of thing.
I mean, they're jinns, so if that like, I assume that they're similar to like elves in the Tolkien universe, where they're functionally immortal. Like,
Hmm.
where unless something happens to you, you'll live forever. Like you'll live 10 million years if you don't get sick and no one kills you, you don't step off a cliff or etc. You know, like something doesn't happen to you,
Hmm.
you like your body will never age you to death. Like, so I wonder if they're like that,
Hmm.
and if that's the case, it wouldn't surprise me too much to find out that yeah, like they respawn kind of.
Right.
They heal from, I mean, they're just dagger wounds. Like it wouldn't be that surprising to see these people who like they also, one thing I noticed is they just have these awesome epic weapons that
Hmm.
they can apparently just summon at will,
Right.
because they get out of the prison and like they break their hands free and they instantly have the spear and the weird swinging rope
Hmm.
blade thing.
And they've just gotten them and from wherever they were stashed.
Well, I mean, I think that they live. I don't
Oh.
know. I don't know if you have if you've like in yeah, you know about it in Stormlight. Like they tell you
Hmm.
about it right away. It's like
Hmm.
shard blades.
Yeah.
You can just summon them. Like you just
Hmm.
you, they're somewhere on your essence, but no one can see it until you summon it.
Yeah.
And that's how what I was thinking of for their
Hmm.
weapons.
Which would be interesting and make it. It would okay. If that's the case, though, it makes it a tiny bit more plausible for how they broke out of the jail, of the prison. Because they could have theoretically been arrested with their weapons on them, but not seen.
I guess.
Although you would think that like a organization that's dealing with supernatural beings would be able to have some kind of device that would detect that sort of thing.
But they looked entirely stupid. Like this if they're really trying to lock up superhuman people, like what did they expect would happen with their weird little slidey things?
Were you like thinking like they looked like kids playing cops and robbers or something?
I mean, what they had no problem escaping.
Mm-hmm.
It was like it wasn't like, oh shoot, like they barely got past our really awesome security. It was like, oh okay, like you're finally like give us an opening. All right, we're just gonna take it and then we'll waltz out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like there's no challenge there. Like if it was just a joke.
Mm-hmm. It was,
Anyways,
and then they got their weapons.
well, I think their weapons live. I think they're part of them.
Yeah, that would be cool. I would be okay with that.
Well, I'm glad that it meets your approval.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Mm-hmm.
otherwise I'm out.
Yeah, I think we covered everything.
Every single thing.
We did it.
Um, her cousins are stupid. Her
Yeah.
grandma is cool.
Yep.
Her mom has mom issues.
I think her mom will eventually learn what's going on and be helpful.
She had a nice moment with her mom eating toffee. I liked that.
Mm-hmm.
I think that they'll end up friends, is what I think.
Yeah. Um, do you have a prediction for next week?
Um, well, that's a good question.
You don't have to.
Uh,
I was just
I don't
curious.
know. Okay, so here's the debate that's going on in my mind: is will it be an entire episode in the past where
Ooh.
she's
Mm-hmm.
like, I could imagine getting real bored with that.
Me too.
Actually, like, there's a couple things they could do to make it intriguing. I don't know if a full episode would be it. If I'd be there if they wanted, if they could pull it off, great.
Mm-hmm.
Seems unlikely. So my prediction is that we spend a significant amount of the episode there, but not the whole one.
I wonder if it would be like a bouncing around thing where maybe Kamala is there for the whole duration of the episode, but instead of us only seeing that, that we also get scenes with like her grandma and like maybe Bruno back wherever he's doing and
Moving into Caltech or
yeah,
whatever.
like just other things to break it up. Because yeah, if they do the whole episode there, that would be a lot.
I wanted to point out again, Brian still looks like he's just home, like just running things on his own.
He does. He lives
Like
alone.
it's like it's like Kamala's family has been like his adopted family because he goes to the
Yeah.
wedding and everything, and he knows all the customs, and he's part of the dance. And
Mm-hmm.
I still, I mean, we don't know, but it still just seems like he doesn't have parents.
Yeah. Well, and like her dad is the one helping him with like the research and stuff, and like
Yeah.
so it's just an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So no other final thoughts.
No, I'm glad I thought about the Brian thing
Mm-hmm.
being, or Bruno being on his own potentially.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to point that out. But otherwise, yeah. Do you have predictions?
No.
I guess.
I mean,
other than what I guess you said, like the allocation of time, maybe.
Yeah, that I do think we're gonna see her great grandmother next episode. I think
I
that's
like
gonna be
that.
a big. I think that'll be pretty important.
Oh, can I just note that I'm tired of. It's like, okay, there's dimensions, and there's a multiverse as well, and they're
Mm-hmm.
different, and there's space, and like, what's next? What's
I mean,
the
well,
next
and there's the
level?
quantum realm.
I was about to say, I actually just thought of that when you
Mm-hmm.
said that. I was like, oh, and there's the quantum realm as well. Like, what's the next thing that we're going to be introduced to? Like, what's I, I guess I don't really care. It
Mm-hmm.
just I was like, oh, that's I guess that's convenient. There are dimensions too. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
It is.
Okay, thank you. Um,
It'll be
yeah,
fine. Just follow the bouncing ball.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we can sign off now.
All
That's good.
right. On that happy note, then, thank you
All right.
everybody for watching and or listening. May you always find water and shade.